Hello, you are welcome to today's class. We are going to talk about the astrocyte metabolism and signaling pathways in CNS. So, the astrocyte comprises half of the cells in the central nervous system and also play a critical role in maintaining metabolic homeostasis. We can also find metabolic dysfunction in astrocytes, and it has been indicated as the primary cause of neurological diseases such as depression, Alzheimer's disease, and also epilepsy. Metabolism in astrocyte has also exhibited a significant influence on neuron functionality and the brain's neural network. Looking at this diagram here, this is an astrocyte and it exhibits various morphologies such as the star-shaped, is bushy, and also has the spongy structure. So it is estimated that astrocyte makes up almost 40% of all cells in the human brain, with variation in different brain regions. So here we have the soma, which is also what the cell body. It also have branches that extend to the infits. This is just the this is how the astrocyte looks like. Now, talking about the types of astrocytes. We have here we have the protoplasmic astrocytes and the fibrous astrocytes. The protoplasmic astrocytes are mainly found in the gray matter. These astrocytes, they are usually short, thick, and they are highly branched. So they are associated with the neuron cells, body, and synapses. But for that of the fibrous astrocytes, they are found in white matter, and unlike that of the protoplasmic astrocytes, the fibrous astrocytes are usually long. They are thin but have less branches, and also they are associated with the nerve fibers, which is the axon to be specific. Now, looking at the skeleton of astrocytes. Astrocytes contain intermediate filament made up of what we call the GFAP, which is what the glial fibrillary acidic protein. What it does is provides structural strength and is mainly used as a marker to identify astrocytes in histology. Now, astrocytes have close morphological and functional association with the microvascular system and the neurons. Looking at this diagram, you see the location of astrocytes around the blood vessels and also the central nervous system. Now, here you see a single astrocyte that makes contact with the blood vessel and also make contact with the neurons through the processes. And here we have the cell body, as I showed you in the previous slide. Okay, here we are going to focus on the metabolic processes that are associated with the astrocytes. Most importantly, we have the glucose metabolic pathways, we have the fatty acid metabolic pathways, and we also have the amino acid metabolic pathway. So, but we are going to talk about the glucose metabolic pathways, and we are going to focus on the glycolysis, pentophosphate pathways, and oxidative phosphorylation pathway. Now, in this slide, we are going to look at glucose metabolism in astrocytes and how astrocytes provide energy support for neurons in the brain. Now, astrocytes, as we all know, as I said in the earlier slides, I said that astrocytes are highly active metabolic cells that help maintain neuronal survival and brain function. Now, looking at this diagram, starting from starting from the top of the diagram, you could see that the glucose moves from the blood vessels across the blood-brain barrier through the transporter known as what? The GLUT. We have them here, the GLUT3 and the GLUT1. Both neurons and the astrocyte takes up this glucose and then converted into glucose phosphates using an enzyme called the hexokinase. Now, the glucose phosphate can then enter several important metabolic pathways. We have the glycolysis. Glycolysis is where the glucose is being broken down to produce pyruvate and energy. So in astrocytes, some of this pyruvate is converted into what? Lactates. So this brings us to the astrocyte neuron lactate shuttle shown here. Astrocyte transfers lactate to the neuron through what we call the monocarboxylate transporter, which is abbreviated as the MCTS. So inside the neuron, lactate is now converted back to what? Pyruvates, and then enters the mitochondria to produce what we call the ATP, which in turn supplies energy for neuronal activities. So this process demonstrates how astrocyte metabolically supports the neurons. Another important pathway shown in this diagram is the pentose phosphate pathways. Now, in this pathway, glucose 6-phosphate generates this NADPH, which is essential for antioxidant defense and protection against reactive oxygen species. That's the ROS. So the PPP, the pentose phosphate pathway, also produces ribose 5-phosphate, which is important for nucleotide synthesis and cellular repair. Now, finally, the oxidative phosphorylation pathway occurs in the what? In the mitochondria. Here, the pyruvate is converted into isotyl CoA, which enters the tricarboxylic acid cycle, which is also known as the TCA cycle, to generate large amount of what? ATP. Now, in summary, the astrocytes are not only support cells, but also major metabolic regulators in the brain, and they help transport glucose and also produce lactate for neurons and protect against oxidative stress, as well as generate energy needed for proper brain function.